and thank you for joining us. My name is Clint Olson, and I'm the Jacksonville sales engineer here at Stan Weaver. I'll be hosting this webinar today. Stan Weaver and Company is a leading manufacturer's rep in the HVAC industry with 5 offices serving most of the state of Florida in Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa, Miami, and West Palm Beach. Stan Weaver and Company has an unwavering commitment to excellence, and we position ourselves with only premier HVAC manufacturing companies. After this meeting, in your spare time, please check out our new website at stanweaver.com. There's now a great searchable line card under the manufacturers tab on our website. When you're in search of a product for your project design, always start at stanweaver.com. This is the 9th of a 10-piece webinar series Stan Weaver will be hosting throughout this year. We appreciate everyone taking the time out of your busy mornings to educate yourself on a great industry manufacturer product offering. A few quick housekeeping notes before we begin. First, this meeting will be recorded. Second, as previously stated, this is the 9th of 10 total webinars we'll be hosting this year. So if you've made it to our previous webinars and now this event, you're another step closer to winning the iPad. Third, these presentations will be no more than 30 minutes in length, and then we'll have a quick Q&A session for a brief period afterward. Fourth, we have muted all attendees for the length of this meeting. We'll be utilizing the Q&A function within Zoom located at the bottom of your screen. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please make sure to submit them in the Q&A section, and we'll get to those at the end of the presentation. Lastly, there's a survey at the end of the event. Please take time to complete and submit this survey for us. We do review all submissions and use these comments to improve this series for us and all attendees in the future. Now I'd like to introduce our speaker and topic for today. Mr. Mike Murphy is a national sales manager at Monoxivent. He began his working life as a hospital corpsman in the United States Navy. Afterwards, he went to work for Teamsters Local 299 at Dyson Steel in Detroit. While there, he drove a high-low and ran an overhead crane for 2 years before being promoted into management. He worked at Dyson for 10 years and left to start his sales career. He started as an inside salesperson for Anka, an Australian machine manufacturer in the Detroit area, for 4 years. During this time, he earned his bachelor's degree in business administration. Next, he joined Niederman as an outside sales regional manager, specializing in vehicle exhaust extraction equipment. And in 2009, he joined the Monoxivent team and has been the national sales manager for Monoxivent for the past 15 years. In today's webinar, we're going to discuss Monoxivent's vehicle exhaust product offering, which will include some basic design criteria along with the following solutions. First, spring and motorized hose reels. Second, overhead systems. And finally, underground systems. With that, Mike, thank you for being here. I'm going to turn it over to you for the presentation.
Perfect, Clint. Thank you very much. Let me just get this started. All right. Can you see my screen okay?
Not just yet, Mike.
Oh, there we go. You
there
good?
We go. Yep.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks again for letting me come in today. Bottom line, this is really informal. There are no stupid questions, so please feel free to ask us anything. And like Clint said, I'll stick around at the end of this. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Monoxivent started in Detroit, Michigan in 1953, so we've been around for a long time. In the mid-1980s, we moved to an area called Rock Island, Illinois, and in the year 2000, we were purchased by a company called Crawford. Now, Crawford has many divisions, Monoxivent being one of them. And under the Monoxivent division, we are a source capture company. We want to capture the contaminants at their source or point of creation. So when we're talking about vehicle exhaust, it would be at the tailpipe or the vertical stack. And it's very important that we capture this exhaust because in particular, diesel exhaust, the particulate in diesel exhaust is a known carcinogen. It's a known cancer-causing agent. We want to make sure we capture it before anyone breathes it in. And then if you look at the other vehicle exhaust, whether it's compressed natural gas or even just standard gas, the chemicals that make up that exhaust are poisonous to the human body. We want to make sure that we capture them before we breathe it in. And that's the biggest benefit of source capture. It gives us the best chance of capturing that contaminant before anyone breathes it in. Now, where would you see our type of product? Well, dealerships, certainly, public works facility, vocational, high school training centers, things like that. We also do a lot of work with the military, could be Department of Transportation, aircraft maintenance facilities. So it's really a large area of industry that you're going to have a need for our type of product offering. So when we talk about vehicle exhaust, there's four main categories. There's hose reels, both motorized and spring. There's simple drops or overhead systems. There's underfloor, and there's portable. Here's a little bit of sizing guideline just to get you started. And all of this information really comes from the principles in the Industrial Ventilation Guidebook. So for normal tune-up and idling type applications, and it's probably 85% of the applications that we look at, the other 15% may be dynamometers or hydraulic testing or things like that. So this criteria that I'm showing you now is for normal tune-up or idling type applications. So for cars and light trucks, 300 CFM, 4-inch diameter hose. For medium trucks and light buses, I always say like maybe a Ford 350 or maybe an ambulance size vehicle, I'm going to be 450 CFM, 5-inch diameter hose. And then when we look at some of the vehicles that you'd see at the DPW or the semi trucks or the public buses out on the road, some industrial, some ag equipment, I'm going to be at 600 CFM, 6-inch diameter hose. And the conveying velocity is going to be kind of the sweet spot, 2,000 to 2,500 feet per minute conveying velocity. Now, that's not to say that every solution will be in there, but it'll be within that range. It might be down to 1,800. It might be up to 3,000, but it's going to be in that range. That's kind of the sweet spot for the conveying velocity for our particulate. All right, this is what we call an exhaust system design worksheet, and it's designed to ask the questions that we would need answers to in order to give you a very focused solution for your application. It's actually a 2-page document, but in a perfect world, I would get every question answered, and it certainly isn't a perfect world. I think in my long career, I've never gotten every question answered, but there are some specific things that we absolutely need before we can get started. So we need to know cubic inch displacement or liter size of the engine. We can convert back and forth. A lot of people want to give us horsepower. Horsepower doesn't give us what we need. We need cubic inch of displacement or liter size of the engine. And then what is the maximum operating RPM of the engine as it's going to be attached to our vehicle? So very simple. If I drive a Ford Maverick pickup truck, if you took that pickup truck and you were doing a tune-up or idling type application, 4-inch diameter hose, 300 CFM, 2,000 feet per minute conveying velocity is going to work perfectly. But if I take my same vehicle and I put it on a dynamometer, that changes that criteria. There's going to be more exhaust, hotter exhaust. So it's really important that we know how the vehicles are going to be run while attached to our equipment. All right, so for spring hose reels, just to go over real quick, here's our hose reel, here's our hose, our tailpipe adapter, and this black ring is what we call a hose stop, and over here is a spring cassette. So the way these work is you have to manually pull them down. When you pull them down and you get enough hose to attach to the vehicle, when you stop pulling, it locks or latches in place. When you're done, you pull down again and it unlatches and it begins to recoil. Now, I want it to stop recoiling when my tailpipe adapter gets about 6 feet above finished floor so that the average sized person can reach it, right? Because we have to reach it to use it. And that's where this hose stop comes into place. I want to position this. Sometimes I'm installed at 14 feet above finished floor. Sometimes I'm at 20 foot above finished floor. I want to position this hose stop so that when this tailpipe adapter gets about 6 feet above finished floor, it's going to stop. It's going to hit this crossbar area here, and it's going to stop retracting. Now, this standard spring hose reels are great for 4-inch, 5-inch, and 6-inch. But when you get to 8-inch diameter hose, the hose is heavier, the tailpipe adapter is heavier, and you could overwhelm a single spring cassette. Now, what many of our competitors will do is they'll put you into a motorized hose reel at that point. And that's fine. Motorized hose reels work great. It's just that they're more expensive. Well, what we did is we actually added a second spring cassette here. And it didn't double the weight capacity, but it increased the weight capacity for a spring hose reel to be able to handle up to 44 feet of 8-inch diameter hose and keep you in the spring hose reel family. Now, I say 44 feet. Theoretically, 44 feet will fit on this L series reel. My only concern would be if I truly need 41 or 42 feet of this 44 feet of hose, by the time I get that much hose off, I'm literally fighting these spring cassettes because they're wanting to retract, right? So theoretically, 44 feet will work. I would say let's keep it to about 36 or 38 feet to maximize kind of the user friendliness of the reel and that's going to handle the majority of those applications.
Monoxivent spring hose reels are an elite solution for vehicle exhaust fume extraction. Our hose reels offer a convenient and efficient method for extracting harmful and toxic emissions from all types of service areas. These reels can be found in car, truck, and agricultural repair facilities, military applications, trade schools, and public works facilities. We offer manual spring retractable models that are delivered completely assembled and ready for installation. Hose reels can be connected with ductwork to a central exhaust system or may be equipped with a direct mount fan. We offer our spring hose reels in 4, 5, 6, or 8-inch models. The two most popular hose types are the Monoxivent 4000 series, a high-temperature silicone product, and the 5000 series, a medium-temperature polyester product. For dual exhaust applications, Monoxivent can provide a Y-kit to connect at each exhaust port, and a variety of other standard or custom tailpipe adapters are available to fit your specific exhaust application.
All right, next we go to motorized hose reels. So standard motorized hose reel go 4-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch, or 8-inch in diameter. Motorized hose reels work great. They allow us to bring that hose all the way up out of that underneath area, wrap the hose around the drum when it's not in use, and then when it is in use, and you'll see in the video, I can simply press a button on a wall, bring the amount of hose down that I need, and be able to handle the exhaust from those particular vehicles. Now, when we go to, let's say, a standard mom and pop shop, sometimes I would wonder, why would I ever need a motorized hose reel? Let's say it's a Ford Maverick pickup truck. Spring hose reel would work great, and we know it's less expensive. Well, there are some applications that a better solution would be a motorized hose reel. And here's one example. Let's say right at that mom and pop shop, right above the lift, there is a crane that travels back and forth. And with the crane traveling back and forth, my hose hanging down from a spring hose reel could be an impediment to the travel of that crane. One easy way to overcome that is by utilizing a motorized hose reel in that particular application, because again, I can press a button on a wall, wrap the hose around the drum, let my crane travel back and forth, and when it's completed its mission, I can bring my hose back down. So that's an example of where a motorized hose reel may be a better solution than a spring hose reel. And then anything above 8-inch diameter hose needed for an application is going to be a motorized hose reel or another type of a solution. The picture on the right is a direct mount fan. So what we have here, this is a complete solution. We have our hose, our tailpipe adapter. This is a motorized hose reel. And we have a direct mount fan. So this is everything we need for a complete solution with a very small work envelope. In this case, the discharge is going through the ceiling. If I'd rather go through a sidewall and avoid making another roof penetration, this can be done right in the field. My favorite application for this, and there are many of them, but my favorite is we do a lot of high school vocational training centers. So we're dealing with a lot of kids. I can put a switch on here called the DMS HR switch or a direct mount switch to hose reel, so that when they, whether it's spring or motorized, when they bring that hose down, the fan starts automatically. When they recoil or let that hose recoil, the fan turns off automatically. So kids will be kids. I don't want them pulling the hose down, attaching to a running vehicle, and forgetting to turn the fan on. So that's one way to overcome that.
Monoxivent hose reels are the premier solution for vehicle exhaust fume extraction. Our motorized hose reels can be found in military applications, car, truck, and agricultural repair facilities, factories, aircraft ventilation, trade schools, public works facilities, buildings with high bay ceilings, and overhead cranes. Motorized hose reels offer an easy-to-use and convenient method for extracting harmful emissions from all types of service areas or any indoor location where internal combustion engines are run. Motorized hose reels can be provided with a direct mount fan or be connected with ductwork to a central exhaust fan. 9000 series model hose reels come assembled and ready for installation. And packages come in 4, 5, 6, and 8-inch hose diameters. XL series hose reels can be provided with 8 to 18-inch diameter and lengths up to 95 feet. Standard reels are provided with a wall or column-mounted up-down switch. Operational controls include hanging pendulum, remote control, and 4-button station with fan on-off. For dual exhaust applications, Monoxivent can provide a Y-kit to connect at each exhaust port. A variety of other tailpipe adapters are also available. Monoxivent standard hoses are Series 4000 and 5000. Plus, we offer a wide variety of hose options with temperatures ranging from 300 to 2010 degrees Fahrenheit.
All right, here's an application spotlight. So this is a car dealership, obviously, with Monoxivent product. Look how clean and neat that is, as far as literally you could probably eat off the floor. I wouldn't, but you could. Now, I'm not saying that every car dealership that uses Monoxivent looks like this, but the potential is there. All right, next, XL hose reels. These are the extra large hose reels. You saw in the video, we can go for up to 95 feet. That's going to be 8-inch diameter hose, and I think that's impressive. But what I think is more impressive is we can do up to 65 feet of 18-inch diameter hose. So where would you ever need that type of air movement? Well, one example is at Fort Lee in Virginia. This is a military base where they bring in the military mechanics and they teach them how to maintain the equipment that they're going to see out in the real world, so to speak. So in this particular case, they have 82 XL hose reels. And I can't say definitively, but I think about 30 of them were the XL hose reels that could handle the 18-inch diameter, 35 feet length of hose. So again, that's one example. It could be tanks, or with the Navy Seabees, the construction battalions. It could be construction equipment, could be mining equipment. We do a lot of work with the mines up in Alberta, Canada. So wherever you're going to have very large pieces of equipment, you're going to need that type of air movement. All right, here's just an example of what they look like when they're being built in one of our manufacturing centers. Next is what we call an overhead system. Some people call them a simple system, but basically, if I look at my main duct here, if I pick just one of these drops down, so here's my hose, I go down, back up here, there's a lifting sleeve, and the lifting sleeve is attached to a ratcheted balancer. Coming back down here, here's my tailpipe adapter. So when I'm using this, I simply pull it down. When I stop pulling, it locks in place. I attach it to the vehicle. When I'm done, I pull it down again. It unlatches and begins to take it up and off the floor. So I have a nice, safe, clean working environment. We design all of our solutions to not only capture 100% of what's conveyed through the tailpipe, but we size them to bring in 20% ambient air. And there's two reasons for that. As long as I'm capturing ambient air, I'm certainly getting everything that's being conveyed through the tailpipe. And secondly, that ambient air helps cool the exhaust as it's going through our equipment. So the benefit of a system like this, it works very similar to a spring hose reel. The negative may be that it's not as aesthetically pleasing. So it really just depends on your customer. And then over here, we have it's a down and dirty, no frills type system. It's called a retractable telescoping system. My lowest section here is 3-inch in diameter. The second is 4, and the third is 5. So when I want to use this, when it's not in use, everything just manually fits inside of each other. There's a chain with a J-hook here, and there's an eyelet on this collar. You simply put everything inside of each other. You take the J-hook, put it in the eyelet, and that's how you keep it up and off the floor. When you want to use it, you just unhook it. Everything comes down, and you attach it to the vehicle. Again, very, very down and dirty, no frills, but also very inexpensive. So the positives would be the pricing of this particular solution. The perceived negative may be that because this is only 3-inch in diameter, I can't do more than about 150 CFM through this. So this solution would only be good for automobiles in a tune-up or idling type application. But if that's your application, it's a very inexpensive solution.
Monoxivent creates innovative air cleaning systems for workspace environments. Monoxivent's conventional overhead systems offer a user-friendly and cost-effective solution to the problem of breathing contaminants in the workplace. Our systems can be found in auto dealerships, motorcycle shops, light or heavy-duty equipment repair facilities, garage settings, railroad, bus transit, and manufacturing facilities. Overhead systems incorporate many hose types and lifting configurations, including boom, duct, and pivoting crane mounts. The hose types range from high-temperature silicone to medium-temperature polyester. Lifting configurations include ropes, pulleys, and cable balancers. Retractable telescoping system and swivel booms offer alternatives for overhead exhaust extraction. Complete your package by adding a direct mount fan for a standalone system, or connect to ductwork and a central fan. A variety of hose and tailpipe adapter options are available.
All right, here's another application spotlight, and I chose this one for a particular reason. Notice there's an overhead crane here. So earlier we were talking about that as being an obstacle. Well, it really depends on the configuration of the crane. In this particular application, here is the track that the crane goes up and down, or up and down, back and forth, however you want to say it. There's a space in between the track and the wall. So in this case, this solution could be below the crane, and the ductwork and the hose runs behind the crane track and before the wall. So we're able to utilize this system while the crane is in complete operation mode. So it's just another way to be able to handle those types of obstacles. Rail systems, rails are beautiful systems. We don't sell the automatic system that's commonly found in apparatus space for fire stations, although we do sell to a lot of fire stations, but it's for their maintenance divisions. But we sell a ton of rail, and our most popular application is car dealerships, because we can maximize our coverage by running a rail from, let's say this is an 8-bay station, from bay 1 to bay 8. And let's say you never run more than whatever number. Let's say in this case, I never run more than 3 engines at any one time. So although I have 8 bays, I really only need 3 drops or 3 solutions. So in this case, I can put spring hose reels, or I can put an overhead system, or even that RTS system. I can put 3 of them. The rail is designed so that no matter where I stop along the rail, I have the required CFM and conveying velocity to capture that exhaust. So what that does, it maximizes our coverage, minimizes the number of drops that we need, and it also minimizes the size fan that we need, because we're only sizing that fan for 3 drops, and so it minimizes the energy usage as well.
Monoxivent exhaust rail systems provide flexibility and performance for your fume and vehicle exhaust capture needs. With 3 sizes available, your exhaust rail can be outfitted with as little as 1 or several hose drops with rail lengths of 100 feet long and beyond. Our aluminum extruded rail and cast aluminum trolleys travel in a straight line through the workplace. Using negative pressure, the neoprene rubber lips keep exhaust air sealed inside the rail. Hose drops can range in size from 3-inch to 8 inches in diameter. Exhaust rail systems can be found in military applications, car, truck, and agricultural repair facilities, factories, trade schools, and public works facilities. Our manufacturing capabilities for exhaust rail include vehicle exhaust systems, spring hose reels, cable balancer drop, and retractable telescopic drop, welding exhaust systems, source capture flex arms, and overhead hoods. Monoxivent rail systems save on installation costs versus a standard exhaust system, while also reducing energy consumption by minimizing the amount of exhaust air needed. We pride ourselves in developing and offering products that meet the demand for user-friendly systems, making the purchase of Monoxivent products a smart investment.
Okay, swivel boom and pack arms, these are just tools that we use to extend the reach of our standard product offering. And the difference between the two, swivel boom comes standard in 7, 10, or 13-foot lengths, and it has a shoulder joint here. Pack comes standard in 10, 15, 20-foot lengths. It has a shoulder joint here, but it also has what we call an elbow joint. Both work great. Pack is a little bit more expensive, but it gives you more range of motion. Eliminators, so these are portable systems that allow us to bring our source capture solution to the vehicle, as opposed to always having to park our vehicle where we have source capture. And I won't go over this in great detail, but you can see here's a discharge hose. In this case, it's going underneath an overhead door. Where I'm from in Detroit here, we would probably put a door port or a wall port, especially in the wintertime. We don't want to have to open that door if we don't have to. And we have different configurations. Here's one with a spring hose reel, makes it very user-friendly, but it does have a larger footprint. Here's one without the spring hose reel, and there's a hose storage rack on this one. And then this one is for automobiles, so just a smaller, compact unit. Underground systems are great because there's nothing overhead. You don't have any hose hanging down, hose reels, rail systems, anything. It's all nice and clean above you. Below you, underneath the flooring here, is all your ductwork. Your ductwork is designed underneath the floor. Your hose is actually stored in your ductwork. When it's not in use, the floor port lays flat like this. When you want to use it, you simply open up the floor door. It lays flat also in case you run it over, it won't break. You pull your hose out and you attach it to the vehicle. So that's the beauty. Perceived negative on an underground system. Well, the earth is corrosive by nature, right? And then whatever we introduce to it, like in Detroit, where I'm from, we use rock salt in the wintertime to get rid of the snow and the ice. And that salt debris makes its way into that ductwork or whatever we're cleaning the floors with or the cars with. Well, the problem with that is that most engineers are specifying galvanized ductwork or PVC coated galvanized ductwork, and that begins to corrode. When it begins to corrode, it can collapse on itself, impeding the airflow, thus rendering it useless. So what we did, we invented what we call our underduct VE. It's a fiberglass reinforced plastic ductwork designed to handle the temperatures that you'll see in vehicle exhaust, but it is not negatively impacted by the corrosive nature of the earth or the elements that we introduce to it. And then this is just kind of showing up here. You see before it gets laid in the ground. And then also the Chevy bow tie here. We have complete customization and fabrication capabilities at Monoxivent. Lastly, we have all different types of tailpipe adapters, whatever configuration is that's out there today, we have solutions for. And as the manufacturers come out with kind of a new configuration, it's very easy for us to design and fabricate a solution. Our hoses, our 5000 series hose is perfect for cars and light trucks. It can do 350 degrees continuous, up to 550 degrees intermittent, has a steel helix or a nice bending radius, so it'll work perfectly for a hose reel or an overhead system. 4000 series hoses for higher temp vehicles. It'll do 600 degrees continuous and up to 1250 degrees intermittent. It also has a steel helix, so great bending radius. So again, perfect for hose reels and overhead systems. The 3000 series hose is a no crush hose. It does not have a steel helix, and that's by design. You can run this hose over repeatedly and it'll regain its shape. So this is great for areas like maybe it's going to be in the ground or it's going to be an extension hose. It's going to be laying on the ground. Wherever it has a good chance to being run over, you want this type of hose because it can be run over again and regain its shape. You could not use this on hose reels or overhead systems because as you bend it around the drum, there's no helix in there to give it real structure. So it collapses and then your static pressure goes through the roof. And then lastly, we have our family 7000 series of hose. It goes from 300 degrees up to 2010 degrees. So just wanted to go over this very quickly. The higher temperature rated hose you need, the more costly it becomes. So in this case, the 2000 degree hose is very, very expensive. And that's just based on the materials needed to create a hose that can handle 2000 degrees, but it is very, very expensive. So knowing that, if I have a high temp application and let's say regeneration is an example, I know during that regeneration process, you can see temperatures of up to 1700 degrees. I'm going to use my 2000 degree hose. But here's the deal. I also know that I'm bringing in 20% ambient air. And as that ambient air helps mix with the 1700 degrees, that overall air temperature starts to reduce. So if I need 30 feet of hose, maybe I do the first 10 feet of the 2000 degree hose, and then the next 20 feet of the 7150 or the 7120 hose. And that is going to allow me to handle the application and still be cost effective. So again, just different things. We will always work with you to maximize the benefits of using a Monoxivent type product, but also taking into account the end user's needs and their budget constraints. So with that, I complete my presentation and I will hand it back over to Clint.
Awesome, Mike. Thank you. We have two questions in for you. The first is for the 11,000 series, how do you avoid the hose being kinked?
How do I avoid the hose being what?
Getting kinked up.
So just the way it's configured, we do a 1/3, 2/3 type hose configuration with the lifting sleeve there. The lifting sleeve is it's designed such so that the hose will come down here and here without any kinks. We don't want kinks because that's going to increase the static pressure. So it's just the way of the design for the 11,000 series.
Excellent. The last one we have is for the single manifold overhead systems, is the fan on a VFD?
So that's a great question. And I know engineers love VFDs and I totally get it, right? For soft starts, for ramping up, ramping down. You want to be a little bit careful in our industry. And in longer presentations, I go over this, but just very simply, let's say I have 10 6-inch diameter hose reels, right? So we know that's 600 CFM, that's 6,000 CFM, and I have one fan. Now I put a VFD on that fan. If all of my 10 hose reels are running at 6,000 CFM, 400 static pressure, 2,000 feet conveying velocity. But what if only one is? or two. So I go from 6,000 down to 600 or 1,200 or 1,800. I still need to maintain the static pressure, the conveyance, and all that. It's nearly, I never want to say impossible, but nearly to find a fan with that type range. So my opinion would be a better solution would be to break that 10 group into maybe 2 groups of 5, have a fan on it. And again, the simpler it is, the better it is for the end user. In that case, I would just turn the fan on or off. If I got a bunch of dampers, and we can get as sophisticated as you want, but the less interaction the end user has, the more likely they are to utilize the solution. Our full goal is to protect the breathing zone of the worker.
Excellent. Looks like we have 2 people with their hands up. If you have a question, please submit it in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. We'll give a second just to make sure no one else has any questions. But if nothing else comes in, please make sure to join us 2 weeks from today, where we'll be doing our 10th and final webinar series with Jeremiah's Exhaust Systems.
I appreciate you keeping the best for last, Clint. Thank you.
1 second, Mike. We actually do have one more here, just came in.
Okay.
So the question is, does the rail vent wear out over time? And does the hose CFM need to be checked over time?
So that's a great question. And it really depends on the usage, but if everything, I've seen rail in fire stations for 10 years with constant usage back and forth that have been great, right? Still show very little wear and tear. But I've also seen rail where we call them virtual lips, where they just were not maintained. They were maybe hit by an overhead crane or whatever. So a properly installed, designed rail should give you easily 10 years and probably much more than that. I just can't say definitively.
Sure. Excellent. Looks like we don't have anything else. With that, thank you so much for your time, everyone. Mike, we really appreciate your time and presentation. And
My
we'll
pleasure.
see everyone in 2 weeks to go over Jeremiah's Exhaust Systems. Thank you.
Thanks again, guys. Thanks, everybody.